So hello people, I'm Falgun and this will be the beginner friendly introductory session on Git and GitHub. So let me share my screen first. I'm assuming my screen is visible.
Yes, Falgun, you can go ahead.
Yeah. You might not know about Git and GitHub, but if you do, then you can definitely skip to the next session, next instance. But let me tell you first what Git is and what GitHub is. So Git is a distributed open source version control system. And what that means is you can view the different versions of the file that you create, or you can maybe go back to the changes that you made before the before the commitment or something. So we'll be covering these many topics in this session, that is Git and GitHub intro, installation, basic commands, config commands, branching, publishing repository, basics of GitHub, and maybe if time allows us, we can do some open source solution live. So let's get started. So Git is labeled as stupid content tracker, and Linus Torvalds, who was the creator of Git, initially named it because he thought it would be funny to do so. So what Git is what I'll show you live. Okay. So let me create a new diary on which we will be working. So index one and so we have made some changes in this one. We have written this is a good path. And for instance, let's say one and I've closed it. So when I open it again, I would want this to be exactly similar to how I left it. But I cannot undo the changes that I've already see. There is no option to undo. Even if I press enter, because it's not undoing what changes I made. And to fix this issue, I guess that's why Torvalds created it. So let me demonstrate something. You have you have to go to the git-scm.com/downloads, and this is from where you can download for multiple platforms. I'm assuming you are on Windows, so I'll directly go to it. And here are the three different versions that you can direct standalone from, and this for the 32 and 64-bit respectively. So upon installing, you will be guided to a bunch of steps, and you must set the default version and proceed further because you are consuming to install stuff and you are smart enough to do it yourself. And it is defaulted, so I'm canceling this process. So let me start with after installation, you will be opening the git bash. We are using the bash terminal instead of CMD or PowerShell because it's colorful and stuff. And by default, you will be on the user open our tutorial. We're on the right working directory that we have created index.txt on. Now I let's do something. Let's uh, let's initialize this directory into a repository. First of all, I'll tell you what directory and what repository is. Directory is any folder that has multiple folders and files and something, and a repository is something that has been kept track of by a version control system. And in this case, we are using Git, and to do so, we are using the command git init. So I'll just write git init. This is the short for git initialization, but git initialization is not an actual command. So git init, and it says that initialize empty git repository in and the path. Okay. So you might wonder, ki, yes, now Git knows everything that's happening with this file, but that's not actually the case. We have to tell Git what all files need to be kept track of. For that, another thing, and for that we need to use this command, that is git add and the file name. So git add, and the file's name was index.txt. This was the file, and you can see this .git folder. This is the folder created uh, after git init command. It was created by Git, and it's Git's own version of its own way of keeping track of what all things we are doing with it. These are bunch of things that it makes on its own, and this is like a black box that you don't have to care about. You only have to care about how you are using it. This is something that even I don't know. You might know it if you are open source enthusiast. You want to know it. You can definitely know more about it online. So let's not focus on that. Let's start with adding this index.txt to our tracking list. See, here we are not using inverted commas because inverted commas are for spaces. In case you have used space, then only you have to use inverted commas. See, in this area, we have used git space and space GitHub. So if we had used git and GitHub instead of without using the inverted commas, we won't be able to get into the right directory. And because you have used spaces, so this makes and a different command and get a different part of command. So that's why it is like this. So if you don't have any space in your command, in your file, you can just directly without using inverted commas. But while being case sensitive, index.txt is starting with small I, so you have to start with small I instead of capital I. And now you have to press enter. It says index.txt did not match. Okay, that's what I did. See, I named the file index.txt, which is the name of the file, and .txt is separate. It's the extension. I shouldn't have done this. See, this is a mistake. Let me rename this. Now it will be easy. So the command I used for this is git status, and this tells you about the among inside this commit, what all things have been kept track of, what all changes have you made, what all modifications you have done, added files or deleted files. So on on using git status command, you will be knowing the commits made, tracked files, all the additives and all the deleted files as well. So this is the git status command, and then I'll also tell you git log command, and this tells about all the commits we have made till now. And since we haven't made any commits, this will be your current branch master does not have any commits yet. See, that's what I would say. So let's add this file, and you know what I did. You know what I told you. Adding a file means adding it to the list of all the files that you're going to keep track of. So if I write it git add and index.txt with extension, then it will remember that this is the file that it has to keep track of. And the next time we commit it, this file, this file's current version will be stored as a snapshot. See, so if we do git status now, to show us that there are no commits yet, but some changes have been made and those are tracked ones. See, a new file is made that is index.txt. Previously it was untracked, but now it is tracked. And previously it was in red for untracked. Now it is in green that it is now being tracked. So let's make a commit. And see, this is a git commit command, and you can use git commit. Okay, first I'll have to tell you why do we need to add these commands, add these files instead of just assuming that Git is keeping track of it. So I'll do a visual representation. See, these are all the files in the current repository. You can see this contains each and every file that is being tracked of, that is not being tracked of, every folder inside it. This is something git ignore. That means these files will be permanently not kept track of by Git because we mentioned it. And these are staged files that once those which have been staged, that means we want to keep them in track, and stage files need to be added after every change. So that we will do. And after staging these files, we have to make commit, and these commits are the snapshots. You are using the snapshot version of uh, you will be reverting back to a snapshot. You will be reverting back to these commits later on, but you won't be reverting back to changes that you have made because you have to save the version and not the status of them being tracked or untracked, right? So till now, if anybody has a doubt, they can definitely ask. I'm guessing it's all clear, right? Can somebody tell me I'm audible or not?
Yes,
Yes,
Falgun,
you
you are
are
audible.
Okay, so let's get going. I'm assuming that you don't have any doubts. So we have not made any commits till now. And the next thing we have to do is tell you about the staging area. That means those files that you have to keep track of. This serves as a preparatory zone where you assemble changes before they are officially recorded. This means that after making changes, you have to add those files that you have made changes on to the staging area. Means after the next commit, the staging area will be kept uh, track of, and as well as they'll be taken screenshot of. Understand it like this, that the version of the staging area before a commit is saved in the commit after you have added that file to the staging area. The next is .git ignore. I'll tell you what this is later on. And commit area is some place where all your commits are listed. That means all the commits that you have made, all the snapshots you have taken of your working directory. That means all the checkpoints you have made yourself that you want to be kept track of at exact those moments of times that come under commit area. So where your curated changes become permanent records in Git's version history. And then comes the repository. Repository is what I told you, the entirety of your project, including tracked and untracked files. This is like the superset where everything is. We remember we used git init command, so that git init converted the directory into a repository. So that directory, which was initially not initialized, is now a repository. That means it is the superset that contains everything: the tracked files, the untracked files, .git ignore files, and everything basically. So yeah, I should This is the repository which has been labeled as all files. Dot ignore is something that we ourselves add, and staged files after modification that we do, and committed ones that stage files getting snapshot of. I think it is very clear, and we should head further. So let me just demonstrate better. So git status tells you all the commits you have made, but since we had not made any commit, we should make a commit. So git commit. This is the proper syntax of this command, and here you have to write the comment on the commit. This is the message that is viewed when you use the command git log. All the commits along with their messages that you can label a picture as this was when all our family was together. Similarly, you can make a commit and label it as this was when everything was working and stuff like that. So let's say we name it. What did we do exactly? We hello world. This is the second line of notepad. We have made a commit, and master root commit said hello world. One file changed, two insertions, create mode. Let's do a git status, and we are on the branch master. Nothing to commit. Working tree is clean. So I guess it's clear. Yeah. So let's create another file, and see, this is another file which we don't want to keep track of. So just in case this was not a file like this, okay, let's do something better. Let's create a file called passwords. Okay. So this is my password, and somehow I don't want it to be tracked, but still want to keep this in my own repository that I'm currently working on. Let's save this file and do the git status. Ideally, what would happen is Git should tell us that we have not kept track of this file and this file has been added, and it should be in red because we have not kept track of it. See, untracked files, and the name of file is passwords.txt. What we have to do is we don't want Git to keep track of this file. So what we will do is one thing we can do is just completely never add this file in a repository in the staging area. And that is very hectic because sometimes you don't even have to specify which file you want to add to the staging area. Another command to do so is git add dot. This command will add all the working files in the current repository to the staging area. So now new file passwords.txt is in staging area, which we never wanted, but we somehow did it. So what either we can do is delete this file and do something like that, but we can do now this command is what did what is now the which means we are not keeping track of it now. And when there are multiple files we are working on, we usually use git add dot command to keep all the files in the staging area. But this is a bummer because sometimes 10 files to be in the staging area. So what we can do is create a dot ignore file, dot git ignore file, and this file will keep track of all the files that we don't want to keep track of or want to upload or want to take snapshot of in the future. We don't want to save its versions. So we'll use this command. This is a Linux command. See what this command is doing is this will we were overwriting it, and now this time we are appending it. So for appending, we use uh, double arrow brackets, and the file name is same dot git ignore. Now what we should see passwords.txt and dot git ignore on dot git ignore file, which means now we are not keeping track of either dot git ignore or passwords.txt, which is what we wanted. See, there's nothing to be there is nothing untracked according to Git because we let Git ignore it. So I've told you what Git repository is, what commit area dot git ignore and what staging area is. I've also told you Git from that time, and now I've just told you git commit. Git commit, the right syntax for it is git commit dash m and then inverted commas, and in those inverted commas we have to write the git commit message, and this saves a version of all the staged file and folders of the repository except the ones in .git ignore. So if we do the git commit, what changes did we make? We added .git ignore now has passwords and self. See, we have made another commit and now it says we have made two commits. One of them with git and another without. Oh, sorry, one of them with .git ignore and another one without. So basically, we didn't create any change. We didn't make any change according to Git because Git ignored .git ignore as well as passwords.txt. So Git thinks it is the same commit. So for doing so, we should make some change, right? We should. I made some changes in index.txt and saved them. Upon doing git status, we know that this file has been changed and not kept track of index.txt. Okay, it was open previously. We have to make changes to this one. We have made some changes. And now it says we have modified index.txt, which is exactly what we did. And so I should stage this to keep this in commit. And if I don't stage this before committing, what Git will do is use the previous copy that it had already committed and copy that to the current commit if other changes have been made. But since other than this, there were no changes that I did, so Git will not even make any other commit. It will think that everything is the same as last time. So what I will do is git add dot. So now if we do git commit, you'll get some different commit. It has told us that the master has some hash code 1ED8C5A. This is the hash of the commit we just made. So if we do git log, we should see two commits. There are two commits. One was made on 21st 3304 and another one was made on 21st 4312. So I've told you about git commit. And another thing, if you want to use git commit without adding message directly, you can also do that. So this is the code. Notepad. If you save this, now git status. We have modified index.txt again, and this time we are adding it, and this time we are, while using git commit command, we'll do some changes. Now we won't be using this and the commit message here. We'll be using the legacy procedure, which is directly using git commit command. On doing so, this will tell us to hint waiting for your editor to close the file, and you can personally go and write a git message there. So upon opening Visual Studio Code or your default text editor, you can directly see and make changes to the git message. And this has something. Please enter the commit message for your changes. Line starting with hash will be ignored. So we don't have to use hash before our line that we want to use as git commit message. This is the latest version of git.txt, which now has it was big enough, so it wasn't accepted. That's why the red color mark was continued. See, after some time, the red color marks appears because there is a limit to the length of git commit message that you can make. And see, I've written this git commit message, and upon closing this, what will happen is currently this is waiting for me to close this file. As soon as I'll close it, it will make the commit. See, one file changed, one insertion. Now we have updated and third version which has a third line as we have written the message. There should be three git commits. Yeah, exactly. There are three git commits and head is at master. What this is, I'll tell you. Next thing we want to know is git reset hash code of a commit. See, till now I've told you how to make changes, how to reflect those in different versions in git commit list, or maybe have different snapshots of what you wanted to be saved as checkpoints. So these are the three checkpoints that we have made, which are on different times. Let's say I don't want this third line to be there. I just want modified index.txt and nothing more. So what should I do is I should go back to the previous commit. How can I do that? I can use this command git reset and then the hash code of a commit that we want to revert to. In this case, we want to revert to this file, this commit. So this is a long thing, right? And we can't just copy and paste because Control C is different for Linux terminal. Control C is not the copy, the legacy copy that you have known. Control C is not exactly the same. What we will have to do is write the hash code ourselves, but this is too big. So what we will do is write the initial 4 letters minimum. So git reset and the one EB git, and then git will understand what commit we are referring to. And now we have resetted our commit to unstaged changes after reset. Now if we do git status, we are on modified index.txt part when it had been modified, but it wasn't uh, kept track of, when we, at this point, when we were back then on the second commit, at this point, this file had been changed. We had added the third line, but that's killing the whole process, right? We don't want the third line. So what we can do at this point of time is git restore and git restore, git reset, and the file name is index.txt. This will go back to the initial state of the file when the file was in the second commit. Basically unstaging. Unstaged changes after reset. Git status. Let me see what file it's looking like right now. It should be back to its previous state, right? See, the fourth line has vanished completely. Now there is only 2 lines. So basically it worked, right? So this is the command git restore and the file name to revert this file back to the commit it was previously taken snapshot of. So now we know git reset the hash code of a commit. After doing this, we can revert back to revert back to the previous commit we had made, and we can also do git restore dot, and this will restore all the files that had been modified after the second commit. We don't want that because first of all we don't want that, second of all there's only one text file that we are keeping track of. So now I've also told you about git restore file name to restore. We just did that, and now I should make you go through this GitHub. So as you all know, you are in IIIT Vadodara ICD. So you get student benefits on GitHub. You can go through, you can download GitHub, you can download GitHub on .com or downloads or something. But the most important thing right now is this link. This will give you uh, student discount or student pack, GitHub student developer pack. Sign up for student developer pack. You are a student, you will have to do this, and you have to give your email address. Selecting a school issued email address gives you the best chance of a speedy review. So first of all, there's something that I did wrong was when I was enrolled into this place, I directly gave my school issued email address, yani ki my du.iiitvadodara.ac.in. But that will make you not able to, this will discontinue after my graduation. So basically, I only gave my institute account here, and this will vanish after some time. If you don't want that, you have to add your primary email address that you use usually, and doing so, and then entering the name of your institute, and then how do you plan to use GitHub, telling things like that. And after that, you will be again asked for sharing the proof of how are you a student, like You have to show either your identity card or your, if you don't yet have that, you can also share your offer letter नहीं कहते ना. You can also share your any document that you have gotten from your institute, and then continue. After a few days, you'll be given your student GitHub benefits. So by this point, I think I've said a lot of things, and I think you should ask doubts, or otherwise you'll miss on some things. Guys, chat is open. If you have anything in your mind, you can write it out. I'm guessing there is nothing for you. Maybe there is nothing, no doubt on you people. There are multiple of attendees. So let's move forward. Now how to push your GitHub repository. Okay, somebody. Where is Git mostly used in practical life? Git is used in keeping track for yourself, and you can also, Git is used to keep track of your files locally, and GitHub is used to work on projects globally. That means by using internet. How can we get PPT or notes of the session? I'll share it afterwards. Did you guys not get confused in the commands that I showed you? Okay, that's nice. I'll take that as a compliment. So let's continue, or should I take a break? I think I should take a break. Okay. Okay, let's continue then. So this is I guess this is the time for having a break. And I got the info from the Instagram page, so please add me or something wherever it's needed. Okay, we'll do that. I think technical writing lead should take over from now and should tell whatever they are supposed to tell. So I'm stopping my presentation. We'll continue afterwards in like 15 to 20 minutes. Till then, Pradyot, everything is on you. We'll continue back and then we'll go from GitHub.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm Pradyot, and I'll be telling you about README in GitHub. So let's begin. Let me share my screen. I hope I'm clearly audible. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So as the technical writing lead at GDSC, I clearly understand the importance of clear implementation in software development. So today we'll be diving deep in the world of GitHub, README files, and how to make a truly effective README file. Okay, so let's begin. So let's begin with a very fundamental question, that what is a README? A README is a document that provides essential information about a software project. Like, it's often the first thing someone sees when they create a project. It basically sets the stage of understanding a project, how to use it, and how to contribute to your project. Now, why are README files so important? Like, README files are really very crucial because they act as welcoming contributors and users. They provide clarity, reducing confusion about how to use contribute to your project. They can significantly impact the success and adoption of your project. So there are certain key elements of an effective README. Basically, like if you go to any README on GitHub, there are basically 5 key elements that are title and description. Then comes the installation instructions, usage examples, contribution guidelines, and licensing information. And to main effective README, now let's get over to GitHub. So if I type https x GitHub, like here you can see an example of a perfect README. Here in readme.md, MD stands for markdown. Like you notice here, it is not .txt extension, it is .md, which stands for markdown. So writing a README is a different. So here you can notice that how are key elements written. Like first, starting off with the heading, then a screenshot is attached. Then there are certain links with proper indexing and some licenses at the end. Now, if I go on to GitHub, and like I've planned an introduction, a repository named introduction, and if I edit anything here, like if I edit my README, so first of all, for heading, you should always include hash. And if you want to attach any image, so you can simply drag and drop that image. Like if I just want to attach the screenshot, and I can commit my change. But as I said that writing a README, like it's writing in Markdown. So how do you write a good README? So there's a good website called readme.so. If you go here and start off, so here you can write about your project. Like for me, it is about the introduction. And you can add your custom sections like badges or licenses, GitHub profile, skills, or other links, logo, anything you want to add, and you can simply make the changes wherever necessary. What you want to be at the top. So, and you can see on the right, you can preview the raw or the final. So this is how it will look. You can download a readme.md file from here and you can upload it on GitHub. Let's look at another example. It is about the COVID-19 India API. Like it's really very important how you all know that first impression is the last impression. So how impression your README makes about your GitHub project. And there are some extra tips I would just like to give that firstly, README should be concise and to the point, and you should use bullet points, obviously. yeah, it is very important that you use active voice and avoid using technical jargon, and make sure that you include its screenshots and provide links wherever there is necessary. So this was it for README. You can explore it by your own. So handing over to Falgun.
Hello, people. I guess I'm audible and my screen is also visible. Can somebody tell me? Okay, so let's get going. Uh, this session also included technical writing because for beginners, there's not much to contribute on because projects usually have complex things. People usually not know web and app development and stuff like that in their first year. So as this session goes on, we will talk more on GitHubs and how you can contribute in the open source. And for beginners, we told you about README because README is something that you can definitely do something on. You don't have to know a specific language or know some code base to be able to write something. And everything that was required was told by Pradyot. So let's start with GitHub repository and what you can do with GitHub. Let's start fresh. So this is the home GitHub, and if you have never used GitHub before, you will have to create an account, or without even creating an account, you can view the open sourced projects and something. But for instance, and since we are going to use GitHub, we'll have to create an account. So is my incognito tab visible? Hello?
Yes, it's visible.
Uh, So this is how GitHub will look like when you have not signed up. So what you have to do is sign up here. It tells you about something that welcome to GitHub. Let's begin your lecture. See, my email has already been taken, and it is very simple process to create a GitHub account. And if you are a beginner, if you haven't used your institute email for this, you can definitely go and check it out how you can avail your student discount. And let's start with my repository. So this is what GitHub will look like after you have installed everything. You have logged in and everything. So you have to go to this create new. You have to choose new repository, and then you'll have to name this repository. Say let's say tutorial. Tutorial. Tutorial has never been my repository. I've never used this name before. Some other people might have used, but since I have never used the same name, I can have tutorial as its name. You can give it a description. I am using this report to make contact. So this is what we did. We're gonna make this public because anyone on the internet should see this. We can directly add a .readme file, .md file, and .gitignore and stuff like that. But for instance, we are not doing so because it will be difficult if you already have something on your repository and then you are going to add something from your local machine to this repository. And something that I haven't discussed till now is before we head on, first of all, look at this. This is how the initial repository will look like. You have not done anything. It says quick setup. If you have done this kind of thing before, this is how you can do more. Or create a new repository on the command line if you haven't already created it, but we have created it. So we're gonna be pushing an existing repository from the command line. And the third option is or import code from another repository, which we won't be doing. So let's do this. Okay, so git remote add origin, and this is the stuff that we're gonna do. So let's open git remote add origin, and in the inverted commas we have to use the file name, oh sorry, the link of this repository with an extension of .git, and this is not in inverted commas, use this directly. So if you don't see this page for some reason, you can directly head on to this part, Control C and Control V. Okay, unfortunately, this is not helping us because Bash is not allowing us to use clipboard. So we should hard code this https://.com. Okay, I kind of changed the repository. Now we are back on the repository that we initially created that had index and passwords. We are back on it. Now we'll have to use the command. We have to direct to that directory which you were working upon and which you want to be published on the GitHub. As I've told you before, Git is for your local machine and GitHub is for working on projects. That means you can have version control system on your local machine in the form of Git, and on the remote. Remote is basically the internet of coding world. So first of all, we'll have to add the origin. What is origin? Origin is your own computer or the repository that you have to work upon. So the repository that you have to work upon is this one, which has link github.com/my name/tutorial. Now what we'll have to do is written here git remote add origin. So what we'll do is git remote add origin and the name of the website. And this is not it. We have to use .git at the end. And now we have added origin. What origin is I'll tell you again. Origin is the repository that you are currently working upon. We added origin to the directory, to the repository, to the local repository that we were previously working on. Remember this. And now we have kind of connected these two. Git remote, which will tell us what is our origin or what is some other thing. We have set an origin. Origin is the alias. Alias means nakli naam. Nakli naam hai. So origin refers to as HTTPS and this stuff. So we have added origin. We can also use git remote at origin, or we can name it anything. We can name it newbie thingy, and origin is basically used for the term the current repository on your own GitHub repository, and we can name it anything. We can name it this, or we can name it origin 2. But since we have already used origin as what our working directory is, we should add another repository just to tell you what all things can be done. See, these are my repositories, and this was the one that I created 15 minutes ago. This is the current origin that we were working upon. Let me show you what adding another origin or maybe what adding another alias to an origin may do. So this is the trial one. Again, this has not been connected to any uh, local Git. So we'll be doing that. So now, if we do Git remote, this will list all the origins it has. So it has two origins. One is for fetching, one is for pushing, and two origins for fetching and pushing as well. One refers to the one that I created right in front of you, another that I created 15 minutes ago. So anytime that you're pushing your code on GitHub, you're gonna specify the repository that you're gonna push your code to. And for that, you cannot write HTTPS and the whole link every time. For that, we'll have to use aliases that we just used. We added origin and origin 2. Origin and origin 2 are the aliases used for tutorial.git and trial.git respectively. So I think it should be clear by now. Okay. So before pushing anything, I should also tell you what is git config. Basically, git config stands for configuration. This is another command, and I should walk you through it. So the syntax of it is git config dash dash location. Location is the scope of this command. Uh, this means that if you use system instead of this whole thing, the command will be used for the whole system. That means for all the users of the PC. And what user is that you might already know. If you use global, then this command will be applicable to only the current user. If you use local, this will be for the current working directory. And work tree one is, I guess it's still in the loose. Uh, it's in the making, so you shouldn't use work tree right now because this is a new working tree and it's still in the process of being made completely. So it's not user friendly, or maybe it's not, it might still have bugs basically. So what we'll be using is global one for the current user. We can also use the local one for the working repository, but basically these two are the ones useful to us for now. Say. So git config dash dash global, and this is not the complete syntax. We're just specifying the scope of the configuration. Now we'll be specifying what we will be using after it. So if you use user.email, it will tell you what user uh, it is for, what name it has. So since I've already installed Git, I didn't configure it with my name and stuff before. So, but I had done it previously, so you can just see the global username I've used is Falgun Soni. Or say I want to use this instead of Falgun Soni. So this will be the command to replace the current global user.name. Okay. So syntax is incorrect. Okay, I guess I know what I did wrong. You don't have to use add. Ah, see, it has been updated, Falgun Lamau. So you can revert back to. If you use it as blank, we don't. If we don't write anything after user.name, it will just show what is the current user.name, and if we do so, we're gonna see if we write something after this point, Git will overwrite the current user.name. So if I say Sony, now the new user config user.name should be Sony. Sony. See, since I've used spacing between user my use case name, only the first part of it has been taken by Git, other part is ignored completely. And to prevent that, what I told you is to use inverted commas. Now if you use the same command, we shall see complete name. I guess the git config part is clear. Why do we need so? Uh, because while working on remote repositories, we have to tell who we are and what email we have used to contribute or something. That's why we need git config. Similarly, for user.name, we can also use user.email and then specify our email. See, it has been added. Use this command, we can see my email is being used for the current user or the current user because we use global. Had we used system, we would have been able to set this for the whole PC. That means all other users, maybe even the guest account would be able to access the user.email portion of my email. That we didn't want, so we used global for the current user only. So this is the git config command. And another thing, what you can do is git config dash dash -t. What this will do is this will open an editor, and then you can manually set your username, user email, and stuff like that. So see exactly what we did with git commit. Now it is waiting for us to open your editor and close the file after saving it. So this is how .git config looks like. It has filter LFS, it has user, it has save, color, core, diff, diff tool, and GUI. I'll explain everything. Diff tool is the tool that you use to view your differences between two files, either on different branches or on different versions. Diff is also VS Code. And okay, diff tool is you have to wait till it closes, and diff is set to VS Code. That means this Visual Studio Code has been set to tell us the differences between two files. When we write that command, when we want to see the differences, we can use VS Code as a default code editor. Then we have multiple things, stuff like name, email, which we'll be using while pushing our code. So we'll have to close this in order to run our Git further. So I close it, and now basically it has started working again. It works fine. So we have used git config. I've also told you origin 2 and stuff like that. Basically, you can write anything instead of origin or origin 2. You can also write project or something like that. We should go back to how to push your GitHub repository, push to your GitHub repository. So we have already set the origin. Git remote. We have two origins set for this one. We have origin and origin 2. And origin scope is, remote scope is just for the current repository, because one person can have multiple repositories that they are working on, which are connected to multiple different projects on open source on GitHub. So having global system remote repository would be like waste of time. Every time you have to create a new project, you will have to specify things for that. So that's why it is not set for global user. It is set for the current or the local user. That means the current working repository. So let's push this code to GitHub. This is the syntax of git push dash u origin master. Since I've already configured my Git with my GitHub, and previously I had added my username and password or my email and password, my PC, my Git knows who my that the current working repository that was on GitHub is also mine. So it won't ask me for my username and password or email and password. But for you, if you have never used GitHub and Git before, it will ask you for the same. And it's not difficult. You can definitely add it on your own. You're smart enough to know that. Let's get going. Let's push to the origin master, or maybe follow the steps that our repository has told us to follow. If we create a new repository, this is what we'll have to do. If we have an already existing repository, that in our case is the case. We already added the remote part. We're gonna have to git branch dash and main. What I'll tell you this is later in the series. Git push dash to origin main. Currently we're on the branch master, so let's see what will happen if I do this command. Bunch of things happened. Counting objects, stuff like that, compressing objects, writing objects. Total 6 delta 1. This is stuff that you don't currently have to worry about. Basically, if it's in red, it means it's an error. But since it is not in red, things are working as per we wanted. So if we refresh this, now we have index.txt, which currently was the only tracked file that we wanted that was staged now on our remote PC. See, this is the file, and this has exactly what we wanted. Hello world, this is the second line of the notepad. This is the third line of the notepad. Remember, we also added this is the fourth line of the notepad, but we restored that change back to the till we had made the second commit. We had reverted back to it. So this is it. This is how you can push to it. I guess my part is over by now, or do I have more things to tell you? SSH key is something that you should not worry about right now. You should remember your email and password or username or password, whichever your Git asks you for. And for SSH key, this is a difficult configuration. This is a long way of how you can use SSH key to configure. But in short, I'll tell you what that is. So in your profile settings, you'll have under access tab, you'll have SSH and GPG keys. And this is a list of SSH keys associated with your account. Remove any keys that you do not recognize. This is how you can hard code your email password. This is for higher security purposes. For now, you do not have to worry about it. And this is also difficult to configure. Maybe in the next session on Git and GitHub, I'll tell you how to do that as well. Till then, let's move further. We already use config commands to link username and password. Now we already used origin and remote add origin, stuff like that. Now comes git branching. So what is a branch? Let me tell you. This is a commit. This is another commit. And at this point, everything was working fine. But I decided I wanted to, add another feature. Yeah. So at this point, my head was or my master was at this current node. And then I decided I wanted to add another feature and to prevent conflicts and stuff like that, or prevent my code from not working in the future, and then I'll have to cry about it. To prevent that, I created another branch. What is branch is like, you must have watched Netflix or Amazon Prime. So in that you have user profiles, like say if you have Amazon Prime account for your whole family, you might see, mama has some different playlist and stuff like that. Your dad has some different things, and kids section is entirely different. There is no vulgar stuff in that. So basically, user profile is just like their own versions, their own copies of the initial thing. So at this point, master or head was at this point, and then we created different profiles. And in this case, we are calling them branches. So now we have master. Master branch is the default branch. You're working on a master branch by default. See, this is the branch name that is displayed. And now I created cell a new feature. It is a good coding practice to use different branch for new features, because to prevent conflict and stuff. So now currently we have two branches, which is new feature and master. By default, by default, when you create a new branch, it will be on the same boat as the original master branch. So initially, what would be the case is, if you create new branch, it will be right here on the same node. But as soon as you do something else on your main branch, on your feature branch, and then something different on your master branch, which is not recommended. But if you do so, now your Git tree is not working, and it might have conflicts and stuff. So this will be it. You'll have different nodes for different branches. Let me show you what I'm trying to say. See, this was the hello world. This was the file that we created, and this is the new feature. And somehow I wanted to remove this feature. Then I'll have to go back to Ruko. We haven't added this. Add not. Add a new feature on the master branch. So I have committed this change to my Git. Now, and one more thing, commits won't reflect on the remote commits that you work on. So where is it? We were in here. Where were we? Tutorial. So see, we made a commit. We have only one branch, but the commit that we made on our local machine isn't reflected here. We'll have to push it again to the origin, but we can do that again. But for this time, we are not doing it. we are doing something else. Now say I want to remove this. What I must do is I should do git log and then go back to the previous commit that I made and then restore the commit changes that I did. Git log, and origin is the remote repository that it is set as a new branch. It is just the repository that you were working on. This is the current one. This is the commit that we currently made 22, 30, 39. Added a new feature on the master branch. We will have to go back to this part and now what should happen? Okay, the new feature has gone, exactly what we wanted, but this was a lengthy process, right? To prevent this, we will be using branches, and for branches, let's create one first. So we are on the part where a new feature wasn't made. Now we'll be, without making the new feature, first we should create a new branch, git branch, and the name of the branch, let's say new feature. This is the new branch. This is pointing on the same node. This is the current scenario. New feature is on the same place as master or head is, and we are not on master. We are not on new feature. We are on master. So if we make any commitments, then that will be reflected in the master branch, but not on the new feature branch. That means it will be something like this. Only 3 nodes, new feature, master head. Master head will not be here as well. Master head will be here. This is the parent one. This is the new feature branch, and this will the master branch. So now what we want is we want to check out to the new feature branch. So we will write this command git checkout new feature. So now we are on the new feature branch, and it says we have something modified here. We removed a space. So let's not worry about this. Now we should make some changes and reflect them. This is the new feature. We'll saving this and make it status. We have modified index.txt. We should start tracking it. So for that, we'll be using it add dot. And now we'll be committing it. So git commit -m. This is the feature. So we have made a commit using the new feature branch, and it's something like this. There is no master pointing to this. Master is currently on there only, and the new feature is also not here. We are currently like this. This node or this thing doesn't have the new feature, but this current branch has the new feature. So what we want is this. We also have to make some commits to master. So we should go back to master, git out master. Next to master branch, your branch is up to date with origin/master. That is what we wanted to know. Now, let's say we want to see the status on master branch. Your branch is up to date with origin master. Nothing to commit here. Working tree clean. This means the new feature that we added is gone. It is back to its previous state. File has been restored. See, previously what you had to do was if you wanted to go back to the previous snapshot of your commit without branching, you would have to use restore command for the file to go back to its initial state. But in this case, we don't have to do that because we used branching. We were more advanced. and that's it. So we didn't use restore feature. Oh, sorry, we didn't have to use restore. Our file directly reverted back to its initial position. And now I guess we should make a commit. This is the fourth line of the node. We have saved this file, git status. We have modified the index.txt file, git commit. Will approve it. Okay, we'll first have to add this git add dot git commit. The commit messages added fourth line to the notepad. Now if you do git status, okay, so current working tree would be something like this. The parent one was exactly what it was. At this point, we created branch called new feature, and master head was at this position. But after we have made changes to new feature as well as master, both are currently different. So that means if we go back to branch, new branch, things will change on this notepad. Things will change on this index.txt file. So the command for going back to it was git checkout new branch. Okay, new feature was the new branch. Okay. Git checkout new. Let's switch to new feature, and you can see this is the new feature, exactly what we wrote before closing it. And git checkout master. This is the thing that we had made in fourth line of the notepad. So this is the said hello world modified index.txt added fourth line to the notepad. This is showing just the working tree of the master branch, which this means this is showing just this part. We don't have new feature part being shown in the git log. It don't even have the memory of new feature, or does it? It doesn't have the memory of new feature. It only knows git master, git head, and the master branch. So if we check out to the other branch, we can go to its own place. Git. We are now back to this branch, and if we do git log, it will have no memory of master. That was, it only knows the master that was till it was the parent of it, right? It knows that it had a parent which was called master, which is not up to date according to this feature branch, and it doesn't know everything until this point. So according to what all things can we do with branching, we can merge them, we can rebase them, stuff like that. You'll have to know, you will have to gain knowledge about and then practice so that you understand it better. And git branch, new branch name. Then we have git checkout that we just did. And this is the basically this command engulfs two different commands, that is git branch and the branch name, and then git checkout to that new branch name. So combining those two commands, it will be git checkout B. Let's do that. Let's do this as well. Git. Where are we right now? We are on the new feature branch. The syntax says git checkout. Okay, git checkout #b, the new branch name. Let's call it another feature, and we have already created it and checked it out on the same command. So this is how you can do it. We can do git merge. What git merge does is it compares both the branches, and if there are no conflicts, that means lines that were in the previous commit and the new commit, if they are the if they are the same, arises no and their merge branches. Let's do that. Git merge. We currently are on the another feature branch. Let me demonstrate that as well. The- This is the another feature. This is the new feature. This is the master. This is the current working tree. And now we want to merge two of these. Feature is separate entity. This is separate entity, and this is separate entity. Although another feature and new feature point to the same head, and that is this one. But theoretically, we are on the same page. Git merge, and if we do master, auto merging index.txt conflict arised, and the conflict was merge conflict in index.txt. Automatic merge failed, fix conflicts, and then commit the result. Okay. Problem. And since we did the diff, we set the get config diff to VS Code. VS Code automatically detected the changes and wants me to work on it. So what we will be doing is, these are the options that you can see: accept current change, accept incoming change, accept both changes, or compare changes. So after doing something on this, what our tree will look like is there will be a new node, which will be the mix of these two nodes, and the pointer will be at that. We'll have another branch. This is how it will look like. New feature will be as it is, master will be as it is. So, since we have to resolve this conflict, we'll accept current change, accept both changes. So now it says this is the new feature, this is the fourth line of notepad, and both of these are on the same text file. So now if we do git status, we have modified index.txt. This modified index.txt is on the context of another branch. If uh, we have modified index.txt, and we should stage these with add dot status with comment. We have merged master with merge master with another branch. This is the message that we used, and we have successfully created git commit. Now its status would show us that the working tree is clean, and this is on the context of another branch. Git log will show us all the commits that have been made up till the another feature was made. So what it shows is this one, this one, this one, oops, this one. This is the working tree according to the another branch feature. If we do, we go to git checkout master, else hasn't been affected. It isn't aware that we have merged it. That means it is on the right place. It is as it is. It wasn't affected at all. But another branch was affected and it was merged with master branch. New feature is also in its own place. So the current working tree should look like this. Okay, this was the parent. This was where division was made. New feature was another branch. We made something. We changed something here. We created. We changed something in master branch, and then we merged two of them, while also creating another branch here, and then merging them. So the merged version has contents of both of them. So the working tree is clean for master, clean for new feature and another branch as well. मास्टर के लिए क्या है सीन मास्टर के लिए यहाँ से यहाँ जा रहा है फिर यहाँ से यहाँ जा रहा है दिस इज द वर्किंग ट्री फॉर मास्टर ब्रांच दिस इज द वर्किंग ट्री फॉर न्यू फीचर ब्रांच and now you know everything branching is very easy if you know you know so I've told you about merge. I'm not telling you what is DBS is because it only creates conflicts and the current and at the current time we don't have to worry about conflicts or stuff because you're smart enough to create new branches and merging them according to need and rather not merging them without thinking or stuff. And now you also know how to solve conflicts as well. I showed you exactly how this looked like. The green portion said the additive changes and the red portion said told us about the files that the changes that we removed, but there was no changes removed, so it was all green. So this is git branching, git push, git push. What do you think will happen to this git tutorial if we push on master? We are currently on master. That means we are currently here. Should all the changes, all the commits be reflected to the origin or not? This is kind of like a quiz. And can you tell me just to let me know if you're aware of the situation? Why are you guys leaving? Never mind. Let's find out what happens. Git push origin. What happens to this repository is this is exactly the working tree of the master branch that we created. This only knows this part and not the new feature part or the another branch part that we did. We pushed the changes of the current branch. Now let's try it for another branch. Git check out new feature. Now a new branch has been created on the remote repository, which is named Git new master, new feature, and now it has two branches. See, new feature has also been updated, and everything is according to the working tree of the branch that had pushed those changes to. So if we push this, working tree would look like this. If you push this on the, if you push this one on the origin, working tree will either add another branch called new feature. If we name that, Or if you push it to the master one, then it will tell us about the merge conflicts, which we prevented by using new branch, new feature. So I guess this is it. This is another command, and with this you can push all the branches at once instead of pushing them one by one. The command is git push dash dash all and the origin. See, another feature was also published to GitHub. Now we have 3 branches and much of stuff is happening. This is how you can push from one local branch to remote branch. And I think I should stop it right here.